DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is visiting Guantanamo Bay today, looking firsthand at the notorious military detention center where the Trump administration plans to house tens of thousands of migrants. Now, it's not the first time it's been used for that purpose. In the early 1990s, George H.W. Bush's administration intercepted boats carrying Haitian refugees and sent them to Guantanamo Bay. Our next guest successfully challenged that detention and joins us now to explain why this time is different. Harold Koh is professor at the Yale Law School and a former State Department legal advisor. It's great to have you on. So help us understand this. Why is this plan different than Bush's was?
Previously, Guantanamo was only held to hold people who are trying to come to the United States for the first time and have never entered the country. This unprecedented plan would take as many as 30,000 people, so the president says, and move them from the United States, where they're already in immigration proceedings, to Guantanamo, to sites that have not yet been built. The Migrant Operations Center, which is already there, currently holds only about 100 people, and they're talking about scaling that up to 30,000. The reports show that there are maybe 3,000 beds being added, but we're talking about tenfold increase beyond that.
Yeah, and one of the things that Donald Trump has said is that this is where they're going to send violent, dangerous criminals, the worst of the migrants who have come into this country. Even if we accepted that, logistically, how do you gear up to handle that number of people in that space who, again, in the president's words, are so dangerous?
Well, first of all, Chris, that's what they always say. I mean, George H.W. Bush said that, George W. Bush said that, Trump said that. They don't actually know yet who these people are because they're in proceedings to determine whether what they've done in the past is a sufficient reason to deport them. So they're moving them before they know. There is no final order of removal with regard to these people, and we're not even sure who they are. It's also not clear that there's any legal basis to hold them on Guantanamo, since the immigration authority is limited to the territorial United States when you have a removal order. The al-Qaeda people who are being held on Guantanamo now are there because they are supposedly law of war detainees. In other words, people who have committed 9/11 or other things like that. But there's no claim as to who these people are, and nobody is 100% sure who they are, except that they are Venezuelan of some kind.
So the White House border czar, Tom Homan, was asked about what comes next, and here's what he said.
We've had a migrant processing center at Gitmo for decades, so we're increasing our footprint there. It makes sense. I just got a question on migrant beds. That's going to be another place where we have up to 30,000 beds. And President Trump made a commitment that the worst of the worst will go to Gitmo, and that's what we're concentrating on.
Let's assume that they're able to get thousands, if not tens of thousands there. What are your concerns once they're in Guantanamo? And as you point out, it's not even clear there will be a clear record or anybody knows even who they are, who's gone there.
So, Chris, I've been there a number of times. What he just said is ludicrous. The footprint they have is for 4 to 38 people. That's what they have had the times I've visited before. Most of those people are held for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they're sent to other countries. And Guantanamo is a bay, and on the left side of the bay is where they hold them. They're talking about 30,000 people, not 47. And the footprint for that, the last time that many people were attempted to hold on Guantanamo, they covered every part of all of the landing strips, the golf course, and they don't have the facilities to handle that. They have a very mediocre hospital. The water is bad. There are insects and other kinds of diseases that are available to people living in tents. And most important, people in the United States who are in proceedings often have work authorization, so they can work while they're waiting for the proceeding to occur. On Guantanamo, they're just in a prison camp, being guarded by people who are not professional prison guards. They're Army soldiers. You're showing right now the maximum security prison, which only has enough place for about, I think, 50 to 70 people. I've been there also. So they're talking about, what they're not talking about is a footprint. They've had a toe print. And now they're talking about setting up an entire city in that same area. And the real question is, in Guantanamo right now, it holds it costs roughly $1 million a person a year to hold them in detention. And if they had that kind of resources, then the question is, why aren't they using them at the border?
$1 million a year, Professor?
Well, for the Al-Qaeda camp, who are currently there, it's the most expensive prison camp in the world. And Chris, I think we really don't want to miss this point. If we set up an offshore prison camp for 30,000 people who we haven't proven have committed crimes, why doesn't Putin set a similar one up for his dissidents, like the latest Navalny, or Xi Jinping set one up offshore in Beijing for the Uyghurs or anybody else who is an enemy of the state?